Hi guys, and welcome to another brand new video. Today's video is all about 2018's brand new releases, which are a combination of new books from well-loved authors, debut books, and so on and so forth. This is pretty much as comprehensive as I could make it when picking 18 books. There's some that are already out, some that are yet to be out, and some that kind of have a vague general 2018 release date but don't have an actual date. First up is Bring Me Their Hearts by Sarah Wolfe. This one is out on June 5th. It is the start of a trilogy about Zira, who is the heartless, immortal, unaging soldier of a witch. She longs for freedom, but her heart is kept in a jar which is under Nightinger's control. Zira serves Nightinger unquestioningly until Nightinger asks for the heart of a prince in exchange for her own. If Zira is discovered infiltrating the court, Nightinger will destroy her heart rather than see her be tortured by the witch-hating nobles. Then we have Crown Prince Lucian, who hates court life and all of the girls vying for his attention, and so on and so forth. His tutors are too afraid to correct him. No one can challenge him until Lady Zira arrives at court. She is inelegant, smart-mouthed, carefree, and out for his blood. Quite literally, as the case may be, little does he know. Kind of like a switched-up Snow White with the whole Bring Me the Prince's Heart thing. Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaefer. This one is out in September. We have Nita. She doesn't murder monsters and sell them online. Her mother does. She just kind of, dissects and packages them. When her mother brings a live one home, Nita follows her conscience and helps him escape. Unfortunately, that ends up with her taking the monster's place. So Nita ends up, sold on the black market. This is down as a cross between Dexter and this Savage song, which is what caught my attention. Bookish Boyfriends by Tiffany Schmidt. This one's out in May, and it is the start of a duology. Our main character is basically all of us, and she thinks exactly like all of us do. And she gets the opportunity to go to this school where all of her dreams come true. All of the heroes from her favourite books are just, they're chilling, walking around, doing high school things, and she kind of gets to put her daydreams to the test, and there's interesting consequences. I don't usually go for contemporary romance, but this one sounds like an interesting kind of twist. The Forest Queen by Betsy Cornell. This one is out in August, and it is a female-centred take on Robin Hood. When Sylvie's brother takes over the family estate, she feels powerless to stop his abuse of the local commoners. Her BFF asks her to flee to the woods with him. She and a load of other villagers go, and they fight to right the wrongs perpetrated by the king and the nobleman. Robin Hood was one of my favourite characters in Once Upon a Time, and I've had little daydreams about a female Robin Hood for a while. It feels like a bit Once Upon a Timey to me with the twisting of the characters. I basically picked that one entirely because I was like, oh, female Robin Hood. Need a female Robin Hood in my life. Literally, that was the main selling point. Fury Born by Claire Legrand. This one's out in May, and an arc of this was included in a recent Fairy Loot box, but I can't remember exactly which one, and I do have the arc sitting over there somewhere. Not like there, like I'm pointing at the stack of books I have on the floor because they won't fit on my shelf. Ooh. When assassins ambush her BFF, the Crown Prince, Riel risks everything to save him. She exposes her ability to use all 7 of the elemental magics, and the only people who should possess these magics are 2 prophesied queens. Out of these 2 queens, we have one queen who is the Queen of Light and Salvation, and one who is the Queen of Blood and Destruction. To prove that she's the Sun Queen, Riel has to endure these trials to test her magic, and if she fails, she'll be executed, if the trials don't kill her first. Thousands of years later, the legend of Queen Riel is nothing but a fairy tale to bounty hunter Eliana. She kind of believes herself to be untouchable, but then her mother disappears along with countless other women. In order to find her mother, Eliana joins a rebel captain on a dangerous mission, and she discovers that the evil at the heart of the Empire is more terrible than she imagined. It definitely sounds interesting. It sounds something a little bit different. Really interested to see how the 2 stories fit together and what the connections are going to be. The Boneless Mercies by April Genevieve Tacholk. I think I'm saying her name correctly, but I'm probably saying it wrong. This one is out in October. Frey, Ovi, Juniper, and Runa, they are the Boneless Mercies. They get hired to kill quickly, quietly, and mercifully. Frey is kind of weary of the death trade, shall we say. Having been raised on the sagas of her people, she dreams of a bigger life. When Frey hears of an unstoppable monster ravaging a nearby town, she decides that it's the Mercy's way out. Basically completely here for a squad of female assassins. The Traitors Game by Jennifer A. Nielsen. This one is out in February. Kestra has been in exile in the lava fields for 3 years, but that won't stop her from being drawn back into her father's palace politics. That's a tongue twister. Kestra is a valuable bargaining chip, and a group of rebels realise this too, so when she's on her way home reluctantly, they kidnap her. They want her to retrieve the lost Olden Blade, which is the only object that can kill the immortal king. Unfortunately for them, Kestra is not the obedient captive that they expected. Can't say I blame her, because hello, kidnap. Kestra's kidnapper Simon will have his hands full as Kestra tries to foil their plot by any means she can. This one sounds like it's going to be so much fun. To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This one's out in March, and I actually got sent a review copy of this the other day, so I'm excited to dive into it. Princess Lyra, who is Siren royalty, she is the most lethal out of all of them. She has 17 hearts from princes, and she is revered across the sea until a twist of fate forces her to kill one of her own. In order to punish her daughter, the Sea Queen transforms her daughter into the one thing they all hate the most: a human. Try not to be offended. Robbed of her song, Lyra has until winter solstice to deliver the heart of Prince Elian to the Sea Queen, or remain a human forever, which, you know, is pretty much the worst thing that could ever happen to her. Unfortunately, hunting sirens is kind of Elian's, you know, one true calling. It's his thing. I've got Little Mermaid vibes, but also like Ursula vibes. These Rebel Waves by Sarah Rash. This one's out in August. I have already read it. The review is on my blog. I was lucky enough to win an ARC copy of it, and it was so freaking amazing, and I hope you guys pre-order it and do everything else because it is literally so good. We have 3 characters. The first is Adeluna. 5 years ago, she was a child soldier who helped the magic-rich island of Grace Lorraine overthrow its oppressors Agrid. Forever saying it wrong. We have Devereaux, who is a pirate. He's one of the notorious stream raiders who pirate the island's magic and sell it on the black market. And we have Bennett, who is the crown prince of Agrid, and he's also kind of a heretic because he's completely obsessed with Grace Lorraine's magic, and he's really not supposed to be. The king gives Bennett the shocking task of reversing Agrid's fear of magic, which could end one of 2 ways for him. It could all go nice and fine and everything will be great, or it could end up with him being burnt to death at the stake. Meanwhile, on Grace Lorraine, the Agridian delegate vanishes during the peace talks with Grace Lorraine's new council, and Devereaux is target number 1 for the Agridians' brutal justice, not because he's guilty, but because, you know, he's a stream raider and he's just there, chilling in a cell, unable to run away or defend himself. Adeluna suspects a greater plot and she teams up with Vex to uncover the truth. This is literally, seriously, such a great book. It was so atmospheric, so vivid. I had so much fun reading it. I was on the edge of my seat and it completely blew me away, and the ending broke me. Ace of Shades by Amanda Foodie. This one is out in May. Enna's raised a proper lady and no lady would willingly visit New Rains. New Rains is a city where casino families rule, and it is the so-called City of Sin. Think Vegas. When her mum goes missing, Anne must leave behind her finishing school and her reputation to follow her mum's trail. Only lead is a name, Levi. Levi is not the gentleman she expected. He is a street lord and a con man, one payment away from clearing up a rapidly unravelling investment scam. So, you know, he has no time to investigate a woman leading a double life, and N's offer of compensation could be the answer to all of his problems. Thought of the Burning City was so good. It was original, it was vivid, it was atmospheric, it was such a good read. So I've been anticipating Ace of Shades because it's going to be really good. I know it's going to be really good. It's going to be so much fun. Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Glenn Marsh. Odessa is one of Carthia's master necromancers, catering to the kingdom's ruling dead. Whenever a noble dies, she has to raise them by retrieving their souls from a dreamy and dangerous shadow world called the Deadlands. The dead have to remain shrouded or risk being transformed into a zombie-like creature. But a dramatic rise in shade attacks raises suspicion and fear in the necromancer community. The loss of one of their own reveals a disturbing conspiracy, which is, you know, that someone is intentionally creating shades by tearing these shrouds from the dead. Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This one is out in August, and it is by the author of the Remnant Chronicles, which I still haven't read yet. It's set in the Remnant Chronicles universe, but I'm thinking you can probably read it without having read the other Remnant Chronicles books, because it just says it's set in the universe. It doesn't say it's like a direct sequel. When the patriarch of the Ballinger Empire dies, his son Jace becomes the new leader. Even nearby kingdoms bow to the strength of this outlaw family who've always governed by their own rules. But a new era looms, set in motion by a new young queen, which makes her the target of resentment and anger. Meanwhile, Kazi, a legendary former street thief, has been sent by the queen to investigate transgressions against new settlements, and she learns that there is more to Jace than she thought. And it sounds like it's going to be amazing too, and it has a gorgeous cover. And I just really want to read it. Ink, Iron and Glass by Gwendolyn Clare. A certain pen, a certain book, and a certain person can craft entirely new worlds through a science called Cryptology. Elsa comes from one such world, written into creation by her mother, a noted Cryptologist. But when her home is attacked and her mother is abducted, Elsa must cross into the real world and use her gifts to find her. In an alternative 19th century Italy, Elsa finds a secret society of Pazuralone, I really can't say this word. They're a group of young people with a gift for alchemy, mechanics or scriptology. She recruits these fellow geniuses to help her just as an assassin arrives on that doorstep. Despite me horribly mangling the Italian language, it sounds like it's going to be a complete and utter blast, and I'm excited for it so badly. I so want to be a scriptologist, it would literally be so much fun. Grim Lovelies by Megan Shepard. This one's out in October and it focuses on the forgotten characters from fairy tales. Anouk's human form is tied to her mistress's dark magic. She has never stepped outside of Marde Vittoria's Parisian townhouse. When her mistress is murdered, Anouk and her fellow beasties have 3 days until the spell fades and they turn back to animals forever. I love fairy tale retellings and anything that's to do with fairy tales. Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. This one is out in April. 10 years after her country was invaded and her mother, the Queen of Flame, was murdered, Theodosia has learned to survive under the relentless abuse of the Kaiser. When the Kaiser forces her to execute her last hope of rescue, Theo can't keep her feelings and memories pushed down. She vows revenge and throws herself into a plot to seduce and murder the Kaiser's warrior son with the help of a group of magically gifted and volatile rebels. I love anything that's like magic and rebels and plots to kill people. The Traitor Prince by CJ Redwine. It's the 3rd book in a series, but it's not like a series. Same universe, completely separate stories. You have Javen, who is the Crown Prince of Akram, and he's been at boarding school for the past 10 years. His return home is cut short when a mysterious imposter takes his place, and no one believes that Javen is the actual prince. Barely escaping the imposter's assassins, Javen is thrown into Macbro, which is the kingdom's most dangerous prison. The only way to get an audience with the king and reveal his true identity is to fight in Macbro's yearly tournament. But he soon finds himself beset by not just terrifying creatures in the arena, but by a band of prisoners that are allied against him as well, including the warden, so things really don't look good for him. Not seen very many Prince and the Pauper retellings. I literally can think of none that I've read, so I am really excited to get to read a Prince and the Pauper retelling, and so far everything I've read by CJ has been really good. The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. This one is out in March in the UK and it is already out in the US. I believe it was out in February. I literally only found out the other day from the author herself that this book is out in the UK. I had no idea before that. Brianna desires 2 things: to master her passion and to be chosen by a patron. But while some are born with an innate talent for one of 5 passions, art, music, dramatics, wit and knowledge, Brianna struggled to find hers until she belatedly chose knowledge. Despite all of her preparation, she is left without a patron. Months later, a disgraced lord offers her patronage. Anna is suspicious, but she has no other choice but to accept. There is more to his story, and she discovers that he sought her for his own vengeful gain. There is a plot to overthrow the king of an enemy kingdom and install the rightful queen in his place. The cover for this is completely gorgeous. I'm really intrigued by this whole passions thing, and I'm hoping there's going to be some romance between the disgraced lord. Like, I know he's shady, but I will still hope for the best anyway. Between the Blade and the Heart by Amanda Hocking. I literally just got sent a copy of this to review, so my review will be up on my blog eventually. It's my first Amanda Hocking book, but I have heard good things. Valkyrie's one great responsibility is to return immortals to the afterlife by slaying them. Alan knows the balance of the world rests on her ability to carry out orders, but then she discovers that her mother spared the life of an immortal destined to die, and the world is basically thrown into chaos by that. I love Norse mythology, and of course the Valkyries are part of that, so of course I had to read this. It caught my attention immediately, and I was like, I need this book. Valkyries. I love me some Valkyries. Next part of my 2018 releases video is all about series continuations. Because these are all next in series, I'm not going to say much about them because I don't want to spoil them. Outcast by Taryn Matheru. This one's out in May. It is a prequel to the Summoner books, and it is all about Arcturus, who you will remember from the main series. Arcturus has been quite a mysterious character, so I'm excited to read about him. Here's Like a Firestorm by Lana Popovich. This one's out in August. It is the conclusion to the duology that started with Wicked Like a Wildfire. Melina has to use her gleam to save her twin sister, basically. That's all I'm saying for spoilers. Smoke in the Sun by Renia Day. This one's out in June. It is the sequel to Flame in the Mist. Mariko has to rescue Akame, and to do so she must return to Inako. Super excited for the sequel. Bright We Burn by Kirsten White. This one's out in July, and it is the 3rd book in the series that started with And I Darken, and it focuses on a female Vlad the Impaler, and I literally genuinely cannot say anything else without spoiling anything for this book. I will say that it has rich and decadent writing, and it is such a good read. The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. This one's out in October. It's narrated by Felicity and it features travel, pirates and a science girl gang, and it sounds completely awesome. All you really need to say to me is pirates and I'll read it anyway. So. The Darkest Star by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one's out in October. This is the first book in the Origin series, which is the sequel to the Lux series. It focuses on Luke. He'll be meeting a girl named Evie. I loved Luke. He was one of my favourite characters. He was kind of mysterious, so I'm excited to get his story finally. Warstorm by Victoria Aveyard. This one's out in May. It's the final book in the Red Queen series, and again there is literally nothing I can say that will not spoil this entire series, especially since it's the last book. The previous book was kind of for me. A lot of people felt that way about the second book, but I felt that way about the third book. The ending blew me away and has had me so desperate for this book to see how it all turns out, and I want to punch Cal in the face. Competence by Gail Carriger. This one's out in July. This one was kind of a surprise book. It's the third book in the Custard Protocol series. As far as anyone was aware, it was going to be a duology, and I read the second and what I thought was the final book, and I was sad because it was the final book, but then they announced that there's going to be 2 more books, so it's all good. Sequel series to the Parasol Protectorate. There is action. It is steampunk. We are heading to Singapore and Peru in this book. I've missed Prim and the Spotted Custard crew, not to mention the various supernatural characters, so I'm excited to get back to the world and get a new book. Escaping from Houdini by Kerry Maniscalco. This one's out in September and is the third book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. I need this book now so badly. It's one of my favourite series and I've been eagerly anticipating this next book. Audrey Rose and Thomas are on their way to New York to solve another blood-soaked murder, but first they have to cross the Atlantic in a boat, so you can imagine all the things that could possibly go wrong. They have to spend a week on the RMS Etruria. Luckily they come across a group of fortune tellers, circus performers, and a certain young charismatic escape artist. Houdini. We're totally talking about Houdini here. But privileged young women begin to go missing and a series of brutal slayings shock the entire ship and there is nowhere to run. A reprint The Gates by Sabata here. This one's out in June. It is the third book in the Ember in the Ashes series and I feel like I've been waiting for this book for ages. Excited to see how things are going to play out for Elias because I wasn't expecting that to happen at all. Helen has her hands full too, I would imagine, because she's dealing with Crazy Marcus. Sight Witch by Susan Dennard. This one's out in February, also known as It's Already Out. This is set a year before Truth Witch. It follows one of my favourite characters, Ryber, who I said in my review for Wind Witch and Truth Witch that I wanted to know more about, and Susan is delivering. It is a companion novella, but it does serve as a setup for Blood Witch, which is the third book that we are all anticipating. Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This one's out in December. The third and final book in the Dark Artifices trilogy. I was really freaking out about having to wait until 2019 after the ending of Lord of Shadows, and I basically freaked out for nothing because apparently they've now moved it to December 2018 instead of having to wait until 2019. Admittedly, it's months later than it normally would be out, but it's still better than 2019. The previous book already broke me and this one's probably going to hurt me too, so I guess it gives me a few extra months to mentally prepare myself for that to happen. Memory of Fire by Callie Bates. This one's out in May. It is the sequel to The Waking Land, which I actually really enjoyed and I know a lot of people didn't. The synopsis, it really sounds like The Memory of Fire is going to focus on Jahan more than our female MC, which is an interesting move. But I am completely here for it because he was interesting. A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This one's out in May. Basically A Court of Thorns and Roses 3.5. It's going to be narrated by Feyre and Rhysand and it's going to bridge the gap between A Court of War and Ruin and the new spin-off series. I'm kind of in 2 minds about this book, but I guess we'll see. Daughter of the IRA and Queen by Trisha Levenseller. This one's out in February. It's the sequel to Daughter of the Pirate King. And I'm so excited for this one because, you know, there was a huge reveal about Alosa at the end of the last book. They've got all the pieces of the map so they can head out after the legendary treasure. Literally so excited for this, it's not even funny. My Plain Jane by Cynthia Hand, Jodie Meadows and Brodie Ashton. This one's out in June. My Plain Jane can be read even if you haven't read My Lady Jane, because that one's about Lady Jane Grey. This one's about Jane Eyre. And they are technically in a series, but they're not connected at all. So you may think you know the story of Jane Eyre, but do you really? A certain gent is hiding more than skeletons in his closet. An orphan, Jane Eyre, aspiring author Charlotte Bronte, and supernatural investigator Alexander Blackwood are about to be drawn together in the most epic ghost hunt this side of Wuthering Heights. It sounds like a complete blast, I'm not gonna lie, I need it now. Catwoman, SoulStealer by Sarah J. Maas. This one's out in August. Batman is off on a vital mission and he's left Batwing in charge, and he targets a new thief who is on the prowl, who has teamed up with Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. Completely screamed when I read that Harley Harley Quinn was going to be in this because I love Harley Quinn. She is my complete and utter favourite. I completely love her. I'm so stoked that she's being included in this along with Poison Ivy. I have so badly wanted a book that saw Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn and Catwoman, so Sarah is really delivering on that. The final part of my 2018 releases video is honourable mentions. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White. This one, it has a release date of September down. Basically reimagines Frankenstein from Elizabeth's point of view, and the release of the book will coincide with the 200th anniversary of Frankenstein. A Muse of Fire by Heidi Hellig. This is supposed to be out in September. When I filmed this video, there was no information on the book. I will literally read anything Heidi writes. The Price of Admission by Kristen Simmons. It's the start of a trilogy about boarding school where the students earn their keep by running cons for the headmaster. A Norse myth-inspired riff on the skulls. The Half King by Melissa Landers. It's about a failed oracle who must leave the temple sanctuary to serve this enigmatic young ruler who turns to shadow at sunset, and it is supposed to be a duology. A Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. Diverse reimagining of Les Mis and the Jungle Book. I'm intrigued to see how that's going to work. Seven Deadly Shadows by Courtney Alameda and Valin E. McTinney. It's about Kira, who is a victim of bullying at her school. After realising that she can see and commune with demons, partners with 7 death gods to save Kyoto from destruction. I freaking love anything set in Japan. So this has been my 2018 releases video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below which books you guys are excited for. I'll link all of my social media down below, and I will see you guys soon.